My back, mine was short.
Ready?
Mine was like 8 lines.
Call the meeting to order.
I'm the Parks Rep.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public meetings. In addition to our live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our website at qac.org/live or on our public access governmental television channel provided by Breezeline Cable Services. Citizens may also participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to qac.org/public comment, and citizens may also email comments to publiccomment@qac.org. All comments received will be summarized during the press and public comment period on tonight's agenda. We acknowledge everyone's participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes per person. If you do care to speak, please sign up at the information table out in the lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Chris Corcorino.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. So this brings us to the approval of tonight's agenda. So our agenda for the April 22nd today, along with the regular session minutes, the Sanitary Commission minutes, closed session minutes from the April 8th meeting have all been circulated for review. Do we have any additions, corrections?
No, sir. Motion to approve the agenda and minutes as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, we just held a brief closed session under the General Provisions Article Section 3305B7 to consult with counsel, and Section 3305B1 to discuss boards and commissions. And I believe we have one appointment to make for the
I
TTAC.
move to reappoint Gail Owings and appoint Aaron Stoll and Richard Turner to fill the vacancies on the Travel and Tourism Advisory Committee. These terms will expire March 31st, 2028. Second.
All right, got a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Press and public comment?
There is none. Anybody online? No. All right, we will pass on press and public comment. Just so everybody knows, Commissioner Dumanel is attending, but he is attending remotely today.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, Commissioners, that brings us to the presentations for this evening. So first up, if you want to turn to tab number 6 in your book. Tab 6, item 1 on page 1 is Proclamation 25-14, Month of the Young Child. We have some folks here today. So we have Ms. Julie Valicello and Elizabeth Miller, co-chairs of
Come on up.
the Month of the Young Child. Yeah, come on up. Hope I didn't mispronounce your name too badly. Valicello, okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I guess I will start by giving you a little bit of the history of the Children's Council. Affectionately known as the Children's Council, the Queen Anne's County Council for Children and Youth, founded in 1971, is a collaborative organization that identifies the met and unmet educational, health, and social needs of children and their families in Queen Anne's County. The Children's Council consists of representatives from government agencies, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, businesses, and community members who advocate by partnering with each other as well as outside organizations in providing resources and support. The Children's Council is endorsed and supported by the Queen Anne's County Commissioners.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on with my part. I'm going to welcome and acknowledge. The Children's Council appreciates the opportunity to be here this evening in recognition of Month of the Young Child, which is celebrated yearly during April. First established by the National Association for the Education of Young Children in 1971, The Month of the Young Child is an opportunity for Queen Anne's County to focus on the needs of young children and their families and to recognize the early childhood programs and services that meet those needs. Sincere appreciation to the following businesses, groups, and individuals for their contributions to this celebration: Queen Anne County Community Partnerships for Children and Families, Queen Anne Board of Education, the Bay Times, Shore United Bank, Island Printing, and the Queen Anne County Children's Council. So with that, I'll move on to Julie.
Yes, hi, good evening. We have two winners this evening. The Children's Council, we've been celebrating the Month of the Young Child for 28 years now, and we received 536 entries for the art poster contest this year. There's two categories, two different age categories, and any child in Queen Anne's County can put an entry in for the contest. The first category is 2-year-old through pre-K, and the second is K through 2nd grade. And each year we have a different theme. This year, the theme was my favorite person, pet, or toy to read with. And this, of course, encourages early reading intervention with children. And so our two winners this evening, the first winner is for 2 years through pre-K category, Hayden Turner. Hayden's artwork. And my favorite people to read with are my cousins, Peyton and Bailey. I also like to read with my pet turtle, Rosie. It's very hard to judge and select just two out of the 536. And then our second winner for K through 2nd grade is Amani Tasker. And this is Amani's artwork.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
And Amani wrote, my favorite person to read to is my mommy. And then she has her whole family here in the art.
So why don't we get both of them to come on up and they can introduce themselves to us.
Win their award and poster.
Gonna give them coins, Chris?
Yeah, none.
The family.
So here's Hayden. Artwork Hayden.
You want to show us your artwork?
Two of them.
I want to see it.
Turn it around. I'll help you with it.
Go down and take a picture with them. We'll get to get a picture with you guys, okay?
Here, we'll give it to your mom.
So when your parents tell you to clean your room, you just give them that coin. And then your parents have to clean your room.
Taller than you will get the
We also, Shore United is also providing gift cards for both winners as well.
Shore United, right here.
That is for you, my dear. Congratulations. For you, my dear.
She's like, I can't hold it. I get it. She's out of here. I'll go in.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Proclamation we're going to read.
All right.
And also, I did want to mention,
Yes.
both winners were from Ken Island. They just happened to have a lot of entries. The teacher was awesome in promoting it, Allison Dorsey, and she's also with us here this
Wonderful. Miss Dorsey? We have a
I do.
proclamation.
Yep, I have a proclamation. Proclamation 25-14, whereas the month of April has been designated the month of the young child by the state of Maryland, and whereas all children are vitally important to the state and to the future of this country. And whereas a safe and stable environment for our children is of the most importance to Queen Anne's County. And whereas we know that as a community, all young children deserve quality, early learning environments that support them as capable and competent lifelong learners. And whereas we recognize the importance of seeing our children as a positive resource for the present and future of our community, whereas we must ensure that our children are healthy emotionally, physically, intellectually, socially, and mentally in order to promote successful growth from infancy into adulthood. And whereas we know that as a community, children and their families deserve quality and accessible child care, and early education programs build strong brains during the critical years from birth to age 5. And whereas as a community, know the importance of working with agencies and schools in helping and preparing our young children to be ready for school and continue to be successful throughout their school career. And whereas we recognize the importance of being intentional in building positive assets and opportunities for our children. And whereas we realize that it takes all community members to help our children grow in positive ways and in character, and we encourage all members of our community to recognize the importance of early childhood education and care, support local early childhood programs and initiatives, celebrate the achievements and potential of our young children, and advocate for policies that promise high-quality early learning opportunities for all children. Engage with families and caregivers to foster a positive and supportive environment for young children. Whereas we recognize that teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth through 2nd grade who make a difference in the lives of young children in Queen Anne's County deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas we call upon all Queen Anne's County citizens to join together to ensure kindness, love, laughter, respect, and encouragement is a daily part of our children's lives. And now therefore that we, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County, do hereby designate the month of April as the month of the young child in Queen Anne's County. Signed, your County Commissioners.
Great job to the winners.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clears the house out. Yeah.
Good job. Look at you. You know your audience, don't you, huh? Ah, yeah.
Right. All right, Commissioners, we can move on to our second presentation. Next up, we have For All Seasons. We have Susan Alstrom, the Regional Navigator, and Carly Palmer, the Outreach Coordinator for All Seasons. And we have Proclamation 25-17, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. All right, ladies, welcome.
Hi, yes, thank you for having us.
Yes, sir. So this is the month of April. It is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we appreciate the opportunity to come. So thank you, council members and commissioners. I work at For All Seasons in the Rape Crisis Center with the staff there, led by our Director of Victim Services, Christy Mirando, and we provide support and services to those who have been victimized in this way.
Yeah, sure. Our victim advocates are always on call. We have a 24-hour crisis hotline every day of the year, so they're answering those calls in the middle of the night and helping those people feel any sense of comfort. They're with them when they go to the police station, at the hospital, even to court. So they're just a great support in our community, so we want people to know about our resources.
And as you know, For All Seasons is the local behavioral health and rape crisis center. We offer therapy, psychiatry, victim support, community education, and always regardless of a person's ability to pay or the language that they speak. We have 7 offices across the Mid-Shore and telehealth services statewide, and we are very proud to be serving Queen Anne's County as part of that group.
Yes, and we are the only rape crisis center on the Mid-Shore of Maryland, so that's serving nearly 200,000 people.
The only one, wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we're busy, unfortunately.
Yeah, but thank you for having us today to raise awareness about this issue. That's always ongoing, but we definitely want to do our part to help.
We do want to reach out. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, or if you are struggling, please reach out. And the hotlines can be accessed online always at our website, or you can call 911.
And are there also resources for the family members of somebody who's been the victim of sexual assault? Because sometimes that's hard for them as well.
Absolutely, yes. So we provide those counseling services, all those services to any family members as
So
well.
anybody who's been impacted should
Exactly.
reach out to you for
Yes.
the resources.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yeah. oralseasonsinc.org is our website, so people can find our resources there.
Thank you. And we have a proclamation.
Before I do, can you share your phone number and the
Yes.
closest address in case someone needs to get a hold of you?
Sure.
Absolutely. So the English hotline is 410-820-5600, and we have a Spanish language hotline, 410-829-6143. And our closest
I know,
office,
I believe it's on, here, I have our, hold on, one moment.
In Easton?
we are in Easton, 300 Talbot Street, and another location on Teal Drive, and we are also in Chester, our new office on Main Street.
Here, our closest to here is 141 Log Canoe Circle in Stevensville.
Oh, Stevensville,
in the business
yes, I
park, okay.
apologize, yes. Those would be-
May I have the honor of
Thank you
reading
for
this
asking.
proclamation for you?
Yes, please, thank you.
Before I do, we just want to thank you for your work with our veterans
Thank you.
and for mental health and working with the VAMSA group
Yes.
out of Stevensville. So we're very grateful that
We're
you're,
proud to be able to do that.
they tell us that you pick up the phone at the drop of a hat. So we're very, it's just a wonderful
It's been a
organization.
great partnership, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Commissioner Moran has a lot to do with that, so.
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Proclamation 2517. Whereas April 2025 marks Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a time to bring attention to the widespread issue of sexual violence and empower communities to take action. And whereas sexual abuse, assault, and harassment affect individuals of every background, to address this, we must promote education around consent, healthy communication, and bystander intervention. By equipping individuals and communities with these tools, we can help prevent violence before it starts and to foster a culture of respect and care. And whereas everyone in our communities deserves to live in safe and supportive environments where they are treated with respect. When our workplaces, schools, and communities work together to uphold safety and respect, we make progress in preventing sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. Statistics show nationwide 81% of women and 43% of men reported experience some form of sexual harassment or assault in their lifetime. And whereas for All Seasons Rape Crisis Center continues to experience dramatic growth in community needs, with sexual assault services increasing by 50% in the last year alone. And whereas for All Seasons April 2025 Sexual Assault Awareness Month theme, quote, "Sip Safe," end quote, calls attention to the alarming reality of alcohol and drug-assisted sexual assault and urges Midshore residents to stay informed, vigilant, and equipped to safeguard themselves and their communities. And whereas Queen Anne's County supports the experts who work to identify and prevent sexual violence and is dedicated to providing services and avenues for survivors who seek proper care and treatment. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month and each day of the year is an opportunity to stand with survivors, recognize progress in combating these crimes, and recommit to reducing sexual violence in Queen Anne's County. And now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County, do hereby recognize April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Queen Anne's County and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. Signed, all of the Queen Anne's County Commissioners and County Administrator Mon. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Sure, yeah.
Photo.
Should we Photoshop the fish or do it all?
Yep, just put it in there. Bruce, we'll do a photo with you. Left out.
Let Beth take it.
Beth can do it and send it to you all.
That would be great.
One finger up there. Look around. All right. And then one finger down there.
Much better. Okay, thank you.
I've done this
You've done
before.
so before.
That's where they pay me the big bucks.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Once again, yes, thank you.
And
You.
pass that on.
She can stay, so.
Fold that paper stuff. That's all that Curious George wants.
All right, Commissioners, our third presentation this evening is an update from Rebuilding Together Eastern Shore. We have a presentation up on the screen. It's also in your book, item 3, pages 3 through 10.
Awesome.
We have Genevieve Croker, the Executive Director, and Larissa Thomas, the Co-President?
Co-president.
Co-President, all right. Welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having us today. My name is Genevieve Croker, and you may notice the slight change in our name. In the past, you guys have supported Rebuilding Together of Queen Anne's County, and we are grateful for that. In 1973, Rebuilding Together formed as Christmas in April. Many people are actually almost more familiar with that name. But the national organization did rebrand in the 90s, and you actually started as a Christmas in April chapter.
Yes, we
I
did.
recently learned from the article in Shore magazine.
1994, we started in Queen Anne's County.
And in 2004, we started in Kent County, so we were Rebuilding Together Kent County. In 2025, we merged to become Rebuilding Together Eastern Shore. We're now serving Kent and Queen Anne's County. All 112 Rebuilding Together affiliates in the United States share the same mission and vision, which you can see on your screen, but we're all independent 501c3s with our own boards and our own fundraising responsibilities. And we all do work a little bit differently to meet that mission. Here in Kent and Queen Anne's County, we are primarily focused on that first part of our mission, which is repairing homes. We don't tend to do as many facilities requests, although we will entertain them for other nonprofits in need. And of course, we hope that our work is revitalizing communities in other ways as well. It's improving property values, it's helping to transfer generational wealth, it's preserving the affordable housing stock. Most folks will tell you that it is cheaper to repair a house, depending on how far gone it is, than to build a new one. And so we think we're doing our part to address the housing crisis, and also to let people, a lot of our homeowners that apply are seniors, and we're helping them to age in place. There are not a lot of options for assisted living and things of that nature in Kent and Queen Anne's County. So what we're trying to do is put in grab bars, wheelchair ramps, things of that nature that will allow people to age safely, not only in the homes that they love, but near their communities of faith, all of the relationships that they've built. We want to keep that human asset in our county as well, not just the physical asset. As I mentioned, there are a variety of different kinds of repairs that we do. We do get a lot of requests for aging in place repairs, but we will take on other things if we have the funds available. That includes roofs. That includes, we're just getting into the energy and HVAC game, trying to access some of the utility money so we can really leverage multiple resources to the house, because oftentimes this deferred maintenance has been going on for some time, and it's not just one problem. It's not just that the roof leaks. There are a number of things. We've
I've really enjoyed getting to know the housing folks here in Queen Anne's County. We don't have a housing department in Kent County, so that's a new experience. And Denise in the housing office has been so great at sharing information. So, you know, for example, she has a water heater program right now. So if I get an application, I know that she can more swiftly take care of it than I can, and we can make sure that we're each taking our chunks and really helping the neighbor from the ground up. We also use a list of 25 safe and healthy housing priorities in each home that we visit, and those were developed with the national office and the National Center for Healthy Housing, and based on HUD's 8 principles of a healthy home, which are something along the lines of keep it warm, keep it dry, keep it well ventilated, keep it pest free. I think we could all imagine what those are. So each of our priority areas tags one of those things that affects people's health outcomes. So, as I mentioned, in 2024, we were 2 organizations, but together we did 109 repairs at 39 different homes for 61 residents. And as I mentioned, a lot of those folks are seniors, and many are living with disabilities. So far, and actually I probably have to update that number since last week because April is National Rebuilding Month, and we've been very busy this month, but we've completed 18 repairs at 16 homes, and we're on track to easily hit about 45 homes this year. I know that you have supported the affiliate from Queen Anne's County, as I mentioned in the past, so we are grateful for that support. I also noticed that you guys might be attending our event on Saturday, so I hope we get to see you there. We are having a thank you luncheon for the homeowners that we've been serving, the volunteers that have been helping us get there, and the sponsors of our National Rebuilding Month this year. Oh, and the last I wanted to point out is just the average income of the folks that we're helping, or that was our number for last year. It's quite shocking. This is an impact survey that was done by the national office across 14 affiliates. We obviously don't have the kind of coin to pay for a third-party evaluation of the impact, but I think you can extrapolate some of the same things as we're doing the same work. So the things that we do address, not only, as I mentioned, physical health, but also mental well-being, and other things that affect people's ability to go to school, to learn, to go to work, to do all the activities of daily living that some of us take for granted, who aren't necessarily having to struggle quite so much when something goes wrong with their home. And this graphic is available to anyone if they'd like to look at it more carefully. From that same survey from the third-party vendor, they determined that for every dollar invested, there's a return on the investment of $284. I'm actually surprised it's not higher, but the point is to say that it is important work, and it is getting paid back to all of us through the reduction in falls, which is a burden on the medical system and the taxpayers, and as well through that preservation of the affordable housing stock, as I mentioned. And I know that you all care about these things for the people that live in your community, and so I just wanted to point out that there's a nice alignment between the work that we're doing and the work that y'all are doing to make this a thriving community and a wonderful place to live. So I welcome any questions.
I do want to thank you all for your support. I've been president for the last 3 years, and you guys have been really helpful and stood by us as we restructured and really became a bigger entity able to take on and help more neighbors. So I really thank you for all your support. And this new chapter with the Rebuilding Together Eastern Shore, we've just become stronger now, so we're really excited to really be able to tackle more of these problems for our neighbors and help them stay in their homes.
Awesome. That's awesome. Anybody have any questions?
How many projects are you trying to do this year?
I'm hopeful that we'll hit 45 homes this year. I've already spent down quite a bit of our funds because we had a few projects carry over from last year. So I would be surprised if we don't hit 45, and we may go higher. We owe 30 just to Maryland Affordable Housing Trust, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent work. Thank you very much.
Sure, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in tonight. Bruce.
All right, Commissioners, our next presenter is a man with that needs no introduction, Mr. Bruce Barriano. End of session wrap-up from our government services specialist here, Mr. Bruce Bariano, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Bruce Bariano, registered lobbyist for Queen Anne's County Commissioners. Once again, I've had the esteemed privilege and pleasure, and I really mean that, of representing the county before the last session of the legislature and throughout the year. I thank you greatly for that. During the time period, I worked actively and closely and daily with your senator and your delegates representing Queen Anne's County. Also worked closely periodically with Lamont Cook, which I'll get to in a moment, and of course your administrator, Todd Moan. Under all the circumstances of what I considered the least session of the 53 that I've done, I think Queen Anne's County did fairly well, and I know your time's considerate, but I'd like to go through a number of items from that standpoint, because I think it's important. All of you did receive the tracking chart that I sent you for the wrap up in the end. If there's any bills or amendments or any paperwork or any questions or anything about any of that you have subsequently, just let me know. I will get it to you and I'll follow up. I probably track more bills than maybe I should, but if anything just relates to a county or potentially, I add it there because you are one of the 24 counties, here in the state. Let me start with some good news, and that is the regional jail, the regional detention center, received $500,000, which really I was very pleased with on two fronts. Number one, it was very, very difficult to get bond money, capital project money this session, and $500,000. I know Lamont Cook was very pleased with that. It's a way to get started and what have you. There are two other aspects about that. Number one, it is a statement by the legislature in giving the money that this is a good idea, this is a good function that you're doing, having a regional facility, and they are making a commitment to go forward with it. The other piece of that, which worked with Lamont Cook very closely, and some of you I'm sure know this, but I do want to emphasize this, and that is we prevented from going to the back. As you may recall, we had gotten very substantial amounts of monies for Queen Anne's County, and it was all taken away, understandably, if you don't use it in a time period. So rather than go back and start the process, which initially was what was suggested, which would have been just ridiculous and time-consuming and what have you, we're back up front with the $500,000, which will get things started, and of course continues not only the commitment of funding, but the new concept that you have with whatever counties that you're engaged with. So I just wanted to put it in context. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It does have those meanings, and I think that's very good for the county and for what you've been trying to do in that regard. Very briefly, as you know, Senator Hershey and Delegate Ahrens had legislation in to create an additional circuit court judgeship here in the county. We had excellent testimony from the sheriff, from the clerk of the court, from the judge herself, and from the state's attorney. While the legislation did not pass, I really feel very optimistic it's going to get passed next year. The presentations were very compelling. They really showed need and necessity, the whole history of the courthouse. Some of you know that better than I do, in building an additional courtroom and what have you. In the interim, I know Senator Hershey and I and your local officials are going to have meetings with the administrative office of the courts and get them on board on it to support it. I mean, the need was made very, very clear. So I'm optimistic about that for the next year. Now, the other good news, which you got, is that the town of Berkeley Community Center got $125,000, and then the Arts Council Annex got $100,000. Money was very, very tight this session. It really was very, very difficult to get bond money in that regard. Some bad news. I saw, in my experience, for the first time, a major onslaught by the legislature in introducing and passing some bills, shifting a lot of authority and control away from the counties and to the state level, or putting financial burdens on the county, notwithstanding. I just haven't seen so much of it, and I think the tracking chart reflects that, but the number of things, were not passed, fortunately. But let me bring a couple of things, please, to your attention. The deadline now for a county to set the property tax rate has gone from July 1 to June 20th. So that legislation passed to give the comptroller's office more time. So I bring that to your attention. Also, the county was given authority, all the counties were given authority to increase your local income tax from 3.2 to 3.3% if those counties do so. I'm not recommending it, I'm not suggesting it, that's within your purview, and I respect that enormously. But I would just say parenthetically, the shifting that they've done, it's really not going to give you extra money because they put additional burdens on you financially. Two of the burdens they put on you financially, which I've never seen in my whole history as a lobbyist in 53 years in Annapolis, is they passed a bill shifting 90% of the cost of SSTAT, which is a state agency, and the head of SSTAT is appointed by the governor, the board. It's a completely state agency. They're all state employees. 90% of the cost of that, and I'm sorry I don't have the figure, is going to be shifted to all the counties. Not just Queen Anne's is going to be split, but I've just never seen a state agency, the bill having them picked up by local government.
So in other words, now the state says the county gets to pay for the state to raise our property taxes.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds like a great deal, right?
But
Yeah, sure.
but even the larger concept,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, is just the notion of it's a state agency and a state function, a state program, and I've never seen before the counties being told they're going to have to pay for part of that.
Right.
I
We
mean,
don't employ them, we don't do anything, we just pay for them.
It really isn't.
It's not even quasi like the health department, where
Right.
we put money into it, but we have some say in it. We have no say in
No say whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, I know they said it, and then you send out the paper, you send out, the paperwork and what have you. The other thing, which I just want to make sure you're aware of, and I'm not going to belabor on it, and but again, I think it's a stark change, is that if there is a determination by the state, by the Board of Public Works, that someone was erroneously incarcerated and served a sentence, half of the cost of that remuneration or conclusion will have to be paid by the county where it was done. Notwithstanding the fact that the judge is a state judge, the state's attorney is a state official. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just setting out, but that was done. So
Now, Bruce, does that include if the state reaches a settlement short of an actual verdict?
Yes,
they can still pass half the cost down.
Either way, exactly.
We have no say in the settlement. We just
Not
pay.
to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be flushed out, but not to my knowledge. But there again, this is completely a state activity and function. I'm not criticizing it. I'm not saying someone was not erroneously or inappropriately incarcerated and served a sentence, and there have been some very terrible cases, really. But it's not something that the local government.
Yeah, I mean,
your
that's the
state's
problem.
attorney and your state's attorney and
Yeah.
your judge, they're state officials.
It's a problem.
I mean, in terms of their appointment, their function, what have you.
Let's not forget the big ticket we got set on us.
The
OPEB.
pension.
Pensions from the teachers. We got that one.
I forgot to mention, that's correct.
And we had all of it, and then they pulled half back at the last minute. But,
Yeah.
We'll
Save
get
something
the
for
other
next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have something for
Well,
next year.
I will say this, and I'm going to get to solar in a moment. I will say this, both on the floor of the legislature and even in conversations, it's not definite, but do not be surprised, and I personally anticipate it, that the legislature will be coming back in special session in October.
Yeah.
So you can't come back in September, we have the tallest crab feast, but you can come back in October,
They're going to clear with you first before.
No, but they're waiting on revenue estimates, and
Yeah.
they will come back, because parenthetically, I know it doesn't relate to Queen Anne's County, but for example, I have two clients that are in the IT business and everything, and with the IT tax that's been imposed, they've moved their operations already out of state. So, I mean, the revenue, and that was put in the Bertha bill without any public hearings whatsoever. This IT tax, no public hearings whatsoever, just guessing what they're not going to achieve anywhere near the revenues that are anticipated, and it's I've never seen action like that without in such an important matter. The whole session was dominated by the budget and by the economic condition. And I'm not trying to get political or anything. I really mean that. All of this was known and anticipated pre the inauguration of the current president of the United States. I mean, I'm not trying to get into that at all. That's a whole separate matter. But the issue was very, very dominated by that. Municipalities in Queen Anne's County may decrease the maximum speed limit rate to not less than 50 miles an hour. So, be glad, be glad of that. And I would just say finally, and I'll be happy to take any of your questions, I work very, very closely with MACO. And I'm not saying that because, your colleague is the president. And particularly Kevin Canale. I mean, I worked very closely with him. He's I think MACO is very fortunate really to have it. I was very pleased to see, I'm not taking credit, but I'm just very pleased to see that MACO came into the solar legislative issue opposed, because I was advocating that myself personally, because I never believe that just because you come in opposed, you're left out. The door's closed, you're not in the room. That's not at all. And what was done on solar, in my view, and I'm not just trying to be, polite or patronizing or anything like that, could have been a heck of a lot worse had MACO not been as aggressive in coming in the position they came in, and the amendments that they had, the bulk of which were taken, and really worked it very hard. From a standpoint of government relations, it's a terrible piece of legislation because, and you have it. If you want me to get you actual copies of it, I can do that very easily. I can email them to you. But if you read it, while it allows counties to do things, you're in a strict time frame, and the PSC can override, what you initially determined, what have you. The good news, though, and I'm not being flippant saying this, and good news under very bad circumstances, is that it's limited to 5% of the county, 5% of the preserve of the area that is set aside. And in talking to people, I believe that 5% would include what's already been done in this county, like other counties as well. That is a 5%. That was a very hard-fought amendment by MACO, so that
I think it's just of the preserved.
I'm not spinning this to spin this, but I think it's really true. So rather than the ability to have governmental dominance over the entire county, they're only limited to 5% of it. Now, I know you have some of your other colleague counties that I work with, and you may even have these views yourself. They shouldn't have any percentage, but it could have been, and there was a real concern among the MACO folks and myself and some others, that there was not going to be any limitation, that the whole county would just be wide open and what have you. But the bill limits it to a combined area of 5% of the total acreage of a priority preserve area. And I know the county's been excuse me?
So a county like Monkey County that hardly has anything in preserve?
They have 90,000 acres.
In preserve? Okay, then whatever. Howard County, that doesn't have a lot. PG County.
Yeah. No,
So we're going to end up taking 5,000 acres, and they're going to get what, 1,000, 2,000?
I'm not defending it at all, but you're right. There is that inequity because it's 5% of the reserve, but it's not the rest of the county as well. I mean, all I'm trying to say is that going in, the way the legislation was drafted and the way the arguments were going was that the whole county was wide open, assuming other factors in terms of the compatibility of the solar farm. But I do really feel strongly that MACO's efforts, they were very insistent on this, as I'm sure you're aware of. It was limited to that area and to 5%, and the rest of the county is just exempt from that. It's just not covered by this bill. So
as a follow-up, and I can probably get the information. My understanding, as I watched the testimony, when Delegate Greist actually asked his questions about the PPA, which is the priority preservation area, that's the area we're talking about,
he asked the question, inside of that calculation, was the Malf and Rural Legacy land included in that calculation? The answer from Delegate Wilson was yes. My point, to move this even further down the road, is the fact that if we had 1,000 acres, and of that 1,000 acres, 600 was in preservation of some sort, which means it could not be developed for anything, right? Then that 5% should only be on the remaining 400 acres, not the 1,000. And my understanding now is they're taking the 5% on the entire PPA, which it shouldn't, because you can't build on the preserved land, and that's in the bill. It locks that out. So, and I still haven't got clarification if that's true, even though it was said at the.
Let me follow up on that
Please.
for you. I'm following you. Let me follow up.
That would be a
on that.
much lower number for Queen Anne's, and it would entice us even further preserve more land.
Yeah.
Because then we can lock out more
And
land
as I
from
read
it.
the bill, Commissioner, I don't see that addressed or clarified
Right.
at all. And I may get with you offline just to get all my terms correct with you, and I will follow up on it very much.
And regardless of the answer, is it type A soil?
That doesn't matter, that's not in the bill.
But it does matter.
Not in the
Because
bill.
they're still farming that.
But in
Well,
the bill, it
yeah,
doesn't
there's
show.
stuff here in the bill that just, I don't, I'm not a farmer, I'm not, what have you, but they say you can't remove topsoil. You can put it aside just to do something, but you got to put it back. Now, does that itself affect the stature and of the topsoil, as it was by the movement and what have you? I don't have the knowledge to answer that, but it's, if what you're saying is that would be even better if it could be limited there. Now, granted, future legislatures come back and change some of these numbers and stuff like that, but
Good.
I really think, and I say this to you as county officials, not just because Commissioner Wilson is here. I think it's very important that MACO, respectfully, in Annapolis for the first time in a long time, really stood their ground on something, and as they should.
Well, that's for one reason.
Excuse me?
That's for one reason. The president.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
No, that was 24 counties coming together and
Yeah.
saying enough is enough.
Your predecessor never would have done what you did. So,
It's 24.
Well, as I understand, you all have one vote. You're 24 counties. I mean,
The rural counties have a lot of power within MACO.
Absolutely.
We all pay
But
but
this
you
was a
should.
4-0 vote, which is impressive because you did bring every county in the state.
and I know you and I spoke about that. I was just trying to give you my very best. I'm not.
I
mean, I just know Annapolis. If you come in opposed, you're not out of the room. You're not. And MACO being MACO, you come in opposed, they can't ignore you. They just can't. You're MACO. I mean, you're part of the state of Maryland, the government, so they had to. So your position was stronger than coming in with amendments. Well, all right, we'll talk to you later and we'll see what the amendments are. No. From that standpoint. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but again, I thank you so very much.
Bruce, the other counties that you represent, how do they feel about this?
I haven't met with them yet.
Do you have any other Eastern Shore counties?
Yeah, no, I've got Caroline County, and I've got St. Mary's and Washington County. I love Larry Porter, I really do. He will never be satisfied with anything in the world. I know, I love the guy. No, I really do. He's a colorful, fascinating individual, and he keeps me on my toes. He really does. Steve Wise is another very lobbyist, just fabulous lobbyist. He's born and raised in Caroline County. He and I represent Caroline together. Fortunately, his father, Steve's father, who was a circuit court judge in the county, may rest in peace, went to school with Larry Porter. So it helps us, kind of keep things. So I will be meeting with them.
But your first.
To my surprise, and I'm not being critical, St. Mary's County was not as focused on the solar issue as the Eastern Shore counties. I mean, I haven't figured that out yet, Commissioner. Perhaps maybe you're aware of that. Of course, Washington County was very much, as well. But I just hope that not only on this issue, and I say this for your benefit, it's not mine, that this really puts Mako in a posture of just acting differently before the legislature and more aggressively, more actively, and saying, hey, we're not only, and I mean this, and the irony is I'm from the Bronx, New York, and I love this state so incredibly, I really do. And part of the character and magnificence of this state, and it's being American miniature, is the diversity of the counties. Mm-hmm. Not only on the Eastern Shore, and you all know this better than I, but Western Maryland and what have you. And I think that's the charm of Maryland, and you don't want to lose it.
No,
and I think Mako is critically important in that regard.
Yeah, especially when I think there's going to be more coming from the state to take away more land use control away from the counties to try to push statewide more agendas, I think is
take away our autonomy.
Well, I think that has to be stopped, because I've always looked, and sincerely, you are the county commissioners, you are the people in charge of this county. I always have looked at one of the primary functions of a county government is the maintenance and preservation and use of the land of that county. Mm-hmm. I'm not ignoring human issues. I'm not. Right. But, there's a state government, and there are, state programs and what have you. But you all represent this county. Caroline County represent, and you primarily are in charge of the use, the preservation, the status, the future of that land mass. And it's got to be maintained. I've always believed that, really. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I mean, I felt that way when I was in the Bronx, New York, and that was a borough, But so I would urge that, to really keep on that. And again, I'm very happy. Not every night, because I do go out to dinner sometimes, but I remember you all vividly as I eat on my special plates.
Because we're paying for that plate.
And working with Stephanie and your whole staff, you've really been very delightful, very delightful. I'll stay on everything. Obviously, there is a special session. I will be there and I'll be active. I mean, I won't be anywhere else. I will continue and follow up on the jail situation. That's big under the circumstances. I'm not exaggerating or minimizing that. And,
so how does the solar move forward? Do we have any other options?
Not now. There's only one other option. Well, there's two options.
Was there a vote today?
They signed it today.
Excuse me?
Signed it. Today's Earth Day. Whatever Earth Day is, they were signing
today.
it.
Yeah.
It's either the federal government stops subsidizing it or farmers don't sell or lease. That's it. That's the only two options left right now based on the Maryland law, honestly.
Yeah.
You can file lawsuits and you can take it through court and see what you can do, but I mean.
Well, that is an option.
It is, but you do have case law that has already been settled that you're fighting an uphill battle. And, to Bruce's point, we went into this with no cap. And I know a lot of people aren't happy with the 5%, but my thing is, there are ways around this that exist in mechanisms we use today, which are like the transfer development rights. Counties like Garrett would love to have more solar than 5% because they have those old strip mines they want to put solar on. So why not trade those rights to Caroline, who doesn't want it, and let Caroline lessen their percent? There are ways around it, and I think it's just going to take more conversations. Fighting it out in court is going to get us nowhere. I mean, us as commissioners fighting this in court is going to do nothing.
Well, I don't.
That's for other people to do.
And what would be the basis for it? I mean,
that's my point.
County rights.
That Washington County case was very valid, and it is implied preemption. Yep. And now with these bills, it's not implied anymore; it's actual preemption.
Which it would
disagree with the law doesn't make it illegal.
What Washington County case are you?
It was a Washington County case quite a number of years ago,
19.
Where Washington County tried to stop a solar farm development, and they went to court because legislation had been passed a very long time ago in the solar area.
They went to state
nothing
court.
dramatic like this, giving the PSC some jurisdiction and some regulatory authority. And there is a doctrine of implied preemption in the law, which I'm very familiar with. When I was practicing law, I used it myself. And under that theory, the then Court of Appeals, now Supreme Court, ruled that impliedly the legislature has dominated this field and has overtaken the county's legislative authority in that regard, from that standpoint. But And this makes it not implied, it's just actual abilities. So,
But it did codify in citing things like that.
Did they appeal to
Before
the,
this law did not exist.
right,
We were 100% preempted when we went into this session.
yeah.
We came out of this not 100% preempted.
And that really, I'm not spinning it, but it has to be looked at that way, it really does.
I mean, that's the reality we live
Does,
in.
and I was surprised at the 5%. We'll hopefully get that clarification, and maybe it's a good clarification, and I'll get right with you on that, but it didn't look that way going in. It really did not.
did Washington County appeal to the federal court?
Well, that case is well over. It was done a long time ago, and no, they did not.
They did
No,
not.
They did not. And objectively,
Probably no federal question.
excuse me?
I said there's probably no federal question.
No, there wasn't
to go
any
to the
federal
Supreme
question,
Court.
Right, it's
but
a
also
state- it was a state
objectively.
ruling.
So should we send a letter to someone in the federal government asking them to look into cut off
To look into an issue of states'
no,
authority over
To-
jurisdictions?
Upset me the most, and Commissioner Wilson was at that joint hearing, what upset me the most, and I don't mean to repeat myself, is just really a lack of appreciation and understanding of the counties, and that, you know, in the state of Maryland, and what, you know, the big picture. The big picture. And I'll just say, lastly, and I say politely, I know this is being televised, I'm not going to say anything wrong or anything like that, but I will say it as diplomatically as possible that I do not believe for a while and presently that the Public Service Commission as a state agency has any real appreciation or care about the counties.
No.
No, that's-
Did I say it okay?
You did great, and that's probably nothing more evident than that, trust me.
I mean, which is really wrong and sad, because the Public Service Commission is a state agency, but it's supposed to be, its jurisdiction has to be of concern of the entire county and what it's doing regulatorily. And
so essentially what you're saying is that the majority in Annapolis dictates what the counties can do and can't do, and they take away our autonomy and our rights,
in this area, yes.
just because they can.
Yep. Yes, Commissioner.
That's
And
wrong.
in this area, you know, I'm not here, no one asked me to say this or anything, but your local legislators fought very, very hard. You know, they really did. I mean, personally, and I mean this in my heart and soul, personally, it would have been a lot worse if it weren't for Senator Steve Hershey, who people in the House and Senate recognize is a real substantive authority and knowledgeable person on the energy issues. And he articulates them, and he also, I was in meetings with him with Senator Feldman, the chairman of the Senate committee. Eastern Shore and Queen Anne's County, I know he has several counties in his jurisdiction. Fortunately, he was there to work. He worked very closely with Mako, as you know, with Kevin and everything. I'm not taking anything away from Mako or anything like that, but what you said is correct.
Any other questions?
Thank you again
sir.
very much.
Appreciate it.
I'll see you soon. I will, of course, see you at Mako. I'll be at your transportation meetings, and
Bruce, I have a request.
Yeah.
County Administrator and I are meeting with MDH, Maryland Department of Health, about the Youth Mental and Behavioral Health Stabilization Center that we're trying to build in Kent County. So we're trying to get, I talked to the governor at Paul Reed Smith, asking him if he could help with us with
if you want
funding.
me at any meeting, I'll be happy to be there and
Well-
or do whatever I can to help you.
It's just time when we go back in January that we submit something for this facility through the legislature. And I talked to Steve about it, Steve Hershey about
Yeah.
it, at the golf course at Queenstown. So I'm just letting you know. I'll call you maybe after the meeting that we have with them.
Okay. No, that is
So-
fine. I know
We just need support on it. that's
there
all.
is precedent. I represent the Pascal Crisis Stabilization Center in Crowdsville and Anne Arundel County, and they provide services throughout Anne Arundel County, and they have been taking through transportation people from Southern Maryland. Last session, the legislature gave them a substantial amount of money. They're a client of mine, and they're building a facility in St. Mary's County for St. Mary's Culver in Charles County. That'll be very, very significant right in this area. But unfortunately, which is another conversation, as you all know better than I, those types of services and situations are increasing in need. They are.
On the lighter side, how was New York
How was New York?
when the record was broken?
I love to. It was awesome. Thanks for asking, Commissioner. I just want to live life. I want to not to brag or anything like that, but have my own experience. I was there when Cal Ripken.
Yes,
I was in my seats.
Yeah.
And I saw that my seats were righted, and I thought, come on down. And I was there the night he tied, and then I went with Kevin Canale. Oh, he loves me. He will love me forever. I took Kevin Canale, who's a huge Caps fan. Hershey was supposed to go, but he got sick that day. And I went with Chris Adams, who's the head of the Eastern Shore delegation. Left 6:30 in the morning on Sunday. Went up through Staten Island, up to Long Island. And I'm from the Bronx. I drove. I know how to get up there and everything. Half the people there were Caps fans. It was. I mean, we all cried in joy. I cried in joy and just happiness that I was there. And unbeknownst to us, and I can send you pictures, we were in seats, regular seats, but there was a box right next to us. And in the box was Ovi's mother and wife. Nice. I chit-chatted with his mother. I mean, I never thought I'd chit-chat with Ovechkin's mother, And I was there last night he scored 2 goals. Yeah. And that guy's, it's very, very exciting. Really is. Very exciting.
Congratulations on getting to see that.
Yeah, no, it was really, it was just incredible. And everybody up there was the whole ceremony, you know it all. It's just, it's great. It really is. And it's nice to have some nice things. There's not too many nice things going on in the world these days. It's nice to have something that you can be happy and pleased about. But I love representing you all. I really do. And just call me if you have any questions, you need any material, any information. I don't know if you've done it or not, but I'd like to take a note or two about what you said because I want to follow up and get that.
I'll put it in an email and shoot it over to you.
Sorry, what?
I'll put it in an email and shoot it to you.
Please do. I'll get right on it because that would be phenomenal. That would be. Have a good evening. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Good to see you, as always.
Good to be seen.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioners, we can move into the action items for this evening. So if you want to turn to tab number 3, we've got 9 action items for consideration tonight. Tab 3, item 1, page 1 is Proclamation 2516, Celebrate Trails Day.
Yes, sir. Proclamation 25-16. Whereas Queen Anne's County, along with Rails to Trails Conservancy and the great state of Maryland, are joining together to recognize Celebrate Trails Day on the 4th Saturday of April. And whereas protecting the natural resources and beauty of Queen Anne's County is critical to our citizens' quality of life, health, economic well-being, and whereas the trails that span across our county are an integral part of our recreational possibilities and connect our communities to one another to promote an enjoyment of area services and amenities, protect environmental resources and natural scenic beauty by residents and visitors alike. And whereas the parks, greenways, trails, and natural areas across our county are welcoming to all and provide a common ground for people of all ages to access our rich and diverse natural, cultural, and historic resources. And whereas Rails to Trails Conservancy, which is the largest trail, walking and biking advocacy organization in the United States, is the national organizer of Celebrate Trails Day. And whereas the county's trails vary in length and character from Kent Island South Trail to the Cross Island Trail to Corsica River Water Trail, from bikeways along the abandoned railway corridors to paddle trails along the tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay. to trails through nature parks, to footpaths and greenways through local neighborhoods. And whereas trails offer benefits to all residents as expressions of local community character and pride, as promoting healthy lifestyles, as conservation of open space, providing opportunity for outdoor education, as tools for economic development, as accessible alternative transportation helping to reduce emissions from vehicles, and as sites for social and cultural events. And whereas Queen Anne's County is dedicated to plan, develop, and manage all types of trails, and join our neighboring counties on the Eastern Shore to promote a regional trail network from the marshy shores of the Chesapeake Bay to the sands of the Atlantic Ocean. Now therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County, do hereby proclaim the fourth Saturday of every April, April 26, 2025, celebrate Trails Day in Queen Anne's County. Shaboom.
Wasn't shorter.
No, it wasn't. Damn it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Moran, for reading that.
That'll learn you.
Okay, moving on. Item number
I'm
2.
trying to make up his time.
Okay, item 2 on pages 2 through 13, we have 2 human resource policy updates, one for social media, use of social media, and one for inclement weather.
I move to adopt the revised social media and inclement weather policies to be effective in 7 business days.
Second.
Got a motion and we got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Wow, that'll wake you up.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
I saw everybody in the back row jump.
Item 3 on pages 14 through 18 is the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development 2025 Housing Bond Allocation Transfer. And in order for the Maryland Department of Housing to utilize our housing allocation for the bond, the participating local government, Queen Anne's County, must transfer that allocation to them in writing. And we do this every year, and we've always complied with this procedure. So no county funds are required for this.
I move to execute the transfer of allocation letter to the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development as described and recommended by the Department of Housing and Community Development. Second.
Second.
We got a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
We can't hear you, Phil.
Phil, can you speak up just a little?
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 4 on pages 19 through 28. This is an amended forest conservation plan for the DeMoss lands and the legal documents associated with that. And this basically is a transfer of 1.428 acres of afforestation area from a non-afforested area to an afforested area. So this one makes perfect sense. There's a great exhibit in your book on page 20 that shows where that area is being redesignated for preservation.
I move to execute the amended perpetual protective agreement deed of forest conservation easement for the DeMoss Lands LLC amended forest protection plan. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item 5 on page 29 is the designation, official designation for Queen Anne's County 250 planning. And this is the 250th anniversary next year for our country. And Economic Development and Tourism was awarded a $4,000 grant for the Maryland 250 recognition. And that grant was supported by the County Commissioners and is recommended that we formally designate Penny Young as the county's coordinator for the Maryland 250 Planning Initiative.
I move to designate Penny Young as the point person for the Maryland 250 planning for Queen Anne's County.
You missed that last name, Jim.
He took it off.
You noticed that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Penny Young.
Carrasquillo.
Yes, she's our newest addition at the in Heather's shop. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes.
That, yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There it is.
Any opposed? All right, 5-0, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 6 is the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation Matching Funds Program. As we know, we are a MAF certified county. And we have Ms. Donna Smith and Joe Pippin up here to provide an overview of this year's request, which includes ag transfer dollars, solar, personal property tax for the county's contribution towards the state program this year.
I move to approve $673,689 of ag transfer tax and $166,921 personal property tax for solar, plus an additional $492,723 of general funds towards the mouth matching funds program.
Do a second?
Second.
Questions?
Can you explain this a
I'm
little
being
bit?
consistent with what I've done for the last 6
Yeah.
years. I mean, it's just,
No,
and
yeah.
I'm sure Donna's got some more highlights about it, but the mouth is getting gutted from the state level
Yep.
over the next 3 years. So it's going to be even more critical for us to find ways to get money into it, so.
So in my little mind, the more we preserve, the more solar we get.
No, the other way around.
No. They can't
we don't
develop
know
on
yet.
mouth land.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
So we're
The more you
reducing the
preserve-
amount that's available.
It's in the priority preservation area, but it can't be developed. So it's like taking land in critical area that you can't build on, right? And saying that that's part of a 100-acre farm that you're going to build on. It can't be built on, so.
So to clarify what the gentleman was talking about before, our entire county is 238,000 acres.
Right.
Our priority preservation area is 88% of our county, which is roughly about 200,000 acres. Right now, we've got 93,000 acres preserved. So that's taken off the table. So until we find out, and we just talked about this today at our mouth meeting, they understand that the 5% will be based on the remaining priority preservation that is not in preservation. So that would leave us roughly about 105,000 acres, give or take. That would be based at the 5% instead of 200,000 acres, which is huge. I mean, you're talking about 5,000 acres difference in the total solar. So the more we preserve, hence, as Jack said, that would take more off the table for the 5% calculation for the solar.
Now, are the rural legacy even?
That's considered same.
Like,
So
the
it would be
easements
it would be any easement, actually. So it
But I
would
heard-
be
well, so you
Maryland
need to check
Environmental
into
Trust.
this. I know, but my understanding is there's certain easements that were written before a certain date that have a caveat in them that could be challenged that they could be developed.
That's correct. The early mouth easements back in the 70s and 80s had a 25-year termination clause. The clause states in the law and in COMAR that if it can be proven that agricultural is not a viable economic driver in the area, not necessarily in one spot, then they can petition to terminate that easement. There was one case in Baltimore County, and it was very close to Baltimore City. The owners petitioned to terminate their easement. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and it was denied. So there has not been one case in the state of Maryland that has been able to terminate that mouth easement with the 25-year clause, because in agriculture, like especially Queen Anne's County, I mean, it's our largest economic driver in the state of Maryland,
Right.
let alone Queen Anne's County. I mean, our county's 238,000 acres. 200,000 acres is agriculture.
Okay.
So,
Okay, yeah, I had heard rumors about that there were certain easements, I think Caroline County might have brought it up to where they had
Yes.
some that may be in question.
and I think that would be a target, but they would have to change that law in COMAR, which, if the Public Service Commission has that much overriding, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
reach, that's possible. But as it stands right now, that is not open. So the rural legacy easements, the mouth easements, the county-held deed restricted open space, non-contiguous transfer development rights, Maryland Environmental Trust, Eastern Shore Land Conservancy, all those easements would not have the availability of putting solar on them for commercial use.
Unless they changed it next year.
Correct. And Jack and I.
To do that, though, you're going to cross a big barrier. You're really going to get into it, because that's why Montgomery County came out in force, because they have 90,000 acres of ag preservation land that they came out, and that's how that was their argument. against the solar was because they want to attack that ag preservation because of its easement and how it was written, and it held no water. So if they did that, they should really be stepping into it, because honestly, Senator Feldman, his district is the ag preservation in Montgomery County. So there's a lot more political that would go into that. So
Senator Wilson, to me, it was worse than Senator
Delegate.
Delegate Wilson, yeah. To that avail, Jack and I have had this conversation numerous times about how MALF gets funded. So whenever something gets recorded in the land record statewide, whether it's a mortgage, a new deed, whatever the case may be, deed of trust, there's a recordation tax that gets paid. That state recordation tax funds land preservation. That's public monies. And when these easement contracts are signed, they're signed with the landowner, the county, and the state of Maryland. It's a binding contract from the landowner to the citizens of Maryland using their money to fund these easements. So you're breaking a contract with all citizens in Maryland, not just Queen Anne's County. So I would feel like with the amount, and we just hit $1 billion in preservation in the state of Maryland, $1 billion. I would think that people would come out in force with lawsuits, breaking a contract with the citizens of Maryland.
It's because, Patrick, if you say it's double dipping. So if I go out and take my preserved land and I build solar on it, I got bought out by the state, county.
Correct.
For that same land. I have now taken that and in the, against the taxpayers, I've turned that around for another profit on top. So I've double dipped at the taxpayer expense, because ultimately solar is subsidized. So that is also taxpayer money. So
Correct.
All kinds of, there would be so many lawsuits, and Chris could probably attest to that. People, as a taxpayer, I'd be on the civil side lawsuit saying, what the hell, you know what I mean? So.
And I went to Annapolis that day and testified against that bill. And there were a lot of people there from all walks of life, age, and interests that were very much disregarded when it comes to the solar. The people spoke out. There was hundreds of people there, hundreds, testifying. And, their blanket comment was, well, when you walk in your house and turn on your electric, where do you think that comes from? And I understand there's a need for it. I understand there's a power shortage, but there's alternative ways to solve that. But that's another day for another story. But with the land preservation part of it, right now, and it was said to us today at our MALF meeting, that is off the table. So that's what the director of MALF said to us. And she keeps on top of these bills. So I feel pretty confident that she has the thumb on the pulse of what's going on.
I don't think the intention was there is to ever use the preservation of land, honestly.
I think they're unaware of what that means.
And that's why when Delegate Grice asked a question, there was a pause, and I'm going, they're going to get this answer wrong. And I could just tell that there was some confusion on what the question was. And that's why when the question was answered and everybody kind of stepped back and go, and you could see some heads shaking, and that's why I was like, that can't be right. There's no way that number is right, because that equated to some ungodly number of solar acres, like in the 400,000 acres if you took statewide that would be available for solar, and we need, based on their estimates, 18 to 30,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a big discrepancy. So
we were told today it's roughly about 100,000 acres.
Total.
Yes.
Right.
And that would equate to about 4,000 acres per county.
Right.
But you're going to have some counties that would not be willing to do the 4,000 acres.
But you got Garrett who wants more. That's what I'm saying. That's why they really got to start looking at what the counties can do and what they want to do.
Right.
Right. And that should have been the first question,
And that,
honestly.
we were also told today that does not include what's on the ground right now. That's over and above what's on the ground.
That's what they need to get, right. That's what they need.
So.
Does Allegheny have those mines?
I don't know. I've only talked to people in Garrett and what they're doing.
It's a very hot topic, and it's very aware. It would be devastating for every county, any county. And I understand it has to go somewhere. I understand that, but I feel like there's other alternatives that could be addressed before they even talk about taking 1 acre of farmland, especially Class 1 soils, out of production. That's the most productive land in the state of Maryland. Even though we're a small state, We have very, very valuable land here and very productive land. You know, we can compete with some of the states out west as far as corn and soybean production.
We don't even grow enough to feed the chicken
No, we
industry.
don't. We're about a 30% corn and soybean and wheat deficit for the poultry industry in the state of Maryland.
But you got to remember, you just said when they take that farm out, it's the farmer that's taking the deal.
Yes.
And the thing that gets me is the amount of money in subsidies, which is allowing them to pay these farmers so much money, should be regulated by some sort of state commission, just for the reason when you cannot, when Montgomery County says no, or Baltimore City's not going to, don't have a place to put them. So if they're going to come here, we should be, this county should be compensated, and that money could go towards more preservation.
Absolutely
But
correct.
because I mean, I think one of the reports I saw was well over $200 million.
You have to think about if they're offering whatever X amount of dollars, and I've heard on the upwards of $7,000 to $8,000 an acre, what are the solar companies or the energy companies making off of that if they're willing to pay that to the landowners?
Well, as long as they get the subsidies.
Right, yeah, so I'm saying between the tax breaks and the money itself, and the solar companies don't own these projects. They build them and sell them to a power company. So it's not the solar companies that own these projects.
To Jim's point, he's 100% right. If you cut the head off the snake will die.
Absolutely.
And that's my thing.
And
These
taking-
solar companies are so profitable and all that. Let them go 2 years without any subsidies and see how they work out.
And taking that decision-making out of your all's hands is a huge mistake, because that'll be a rabbit hole that will have no bottom.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no.
Well, there's a bill in the House now for exactly what we're talking about, and we'll see where it goes.
I did look at the bills signed today, and I did not see the solar bill on that list.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's what I had heard it was going to be
Yeah.
done on Earth Day, which today's Earth Day.
I did too. That's why I looked at it, and I looked at all the bills today that were signed, and that solar bill was not in that list.
My money's on it, it's just going to stay on the desk, and it's.
Well, and
it's
that's the
gonna-
thing. I could jump to the governor doesn't have to sign it to become
Right.
law.
That's right.
As long as
I
it
think the
passes
next
July
go-round is
1st.
June the 22nd or May 12th
Well,
or
whatever,
something.
July 1st,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter.
So it'll be
Governor
in-
Hogan did that a few times too on
Right.
certain bills. They just expired and they
Yep.
became law because the legislature voted on it.
One thing I did want to say, we'll get back to the funding. I did make one error on the memo on the front, and Todd, thank you for catching that. The total, if you put in the extra $492,723 of the general fund, the total will be $4,009,901. I forgot to add in that general fund in the overall total. So for getting that, for putting in that extra $492,000, you'll get an extra $739,000 from the state. So it's $1.50 on the dollar.
Did you see what our total is, though? $1,333,333.
That's the most you can put in that the state will match.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the
And
first.
if,
Well, and
if,
there's no, the second bite of the apple is going to be really small this time, right?
yes, the
Because the
second round
polls-
offers will
yeah.
be very, very slim. If you put in just what you have available and not put the general fund in, that will fund 5 farms. If you put in the extra, we'll get 7 farms. The difference in the acreage, if you do 5 farms, it's 450 acres. If you do the 7 farms, it's 800 acres.
Double, almost, yeah.
And the one farm that would get in with the extra money is 282 acres. It's a nice property. Yeah.
Very good.
So just out of curiosity, should we be starting to target like along the transmission lines for preservation? Just make it a little more hard, I mean, just a little more difficult on them to get there,
I
right?
actually did that a while ago when you all were talking about the solar transmission area on 301.
Yeah.
I looked from Millington all the way down to Queenstown
Right, 'cause that's
to
the
see
one.
what properties, number one, were not in preservation and actually had tillable land that the solar panels could go on, because there's quite a few properties that are very wooded on 301. It was only 17 properties.
How many acres were that total?
I would have to
I'm just
calculate.
curious,
I mean,
because-
we can do that for you. I mean, we can look it
I
up.
wouldn't mind just knowing that number.
Sure, we
Because
can
that's
do
our
that.
solar district per se, right?
Yes.
And knowing what that actual acreage is there. Because my thing is, if they say Queen Anne's County needs 4,000 acres and we've got 4,000 acres right there, say, okay, we're done, right? Right. You know?
Because several of those
Call it a day.
several of those 17 properties have been since then preserved.
Dread it. Well, it doesn't matter because then they can't be developed anyway, so.
That's
yeah.
correct.
Just curious. I mean, I know that based on what Amy did, our total solar district along transmission lines with the 2-mile buffer is 30,000 acres, top to bottom. And I know she's pulled that number out, I believe, of preserved easement, whatever, encumbered, to get down to what it was. But it was still significant that was available. Even
But then you would need to take out the woodland.
Right, but not stepping outside of that. My whole thing is not stepping outside of that transmission line. Where you really get into the hairy spots in like Dorchester County.
That's the zone, the area we zone for solar.
Yeah, the
Staying
solar
inside
district.
that zoning.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what we call it, our solar district, which was 30,000.
Right.
But my thing is, you're gonna see, like other counties, like Dorchester, they got a lot of swampland down there with Blackwater and all that, right? So they're looking at that and saying, well, we can't put it on there. Well, that's part of our priority preservation area, so you gotta count that, right? So it makes sense. Well, we can't develop that. Well, sorry about your luck.
Well, do you want the
So-
solar on the more marginal lands?
Well, but that's the whole thing is.
Yeah, that's just it.
As
That
you
would
move it
be, that
away.
would be appropriate, because if you don't want to use your class 1 soils, put it on your less desirable land.
But it's inhibited by the fact that it's further away from the transmission lines, right? So
Yeah.
now you get into where you have to get it from, just say in our case here, they went 5 miles off of 301
Yes.
away from the transmission lines. Now they got to get that back to the transmission lines, which requires large middle
Underground,
mile.
yeah.
Well, no, you can't
Oh, no?
can't go underground with that voltage,
Okay.
so they got to bring them overhead. So now you get into what's happening out in Baltimore County, Carroll County, and Frederick County. You've got to take land to put these poles up to get a right of way to get to the transmission. That just opens up another whole can of
Yes.
worms. So the more desperate they get, the closer they get to this renewable energy goal, the more desperate measures they're going to have to take. Now, hopefully, I mean, if you look at it by all intents and purposes, 2035, SMRs, which is your small modular reactors, are well on their way to usage. You got Tennessee is deploying them, Texas is deploying them. Hopefully that solution's there and all this goes away in the next couple of years, but we'll wait and see. I mean,
I just think that, listening to some of the people testifying there, I think they had some really good ideas that need to be taken a look at, like landfills and brownfields. And, you've got airport parking lots. And I know they're smaller scale projects, they're not as economically feasible.
Donna, it's not that. I'm telling you, it all gets down to how far away from the main transmission it is. That's where the cost comes in.
Yeah,
The big
right.
time, it is a huge cost to get it even a mile outside of that mile to
Yeah.
get it over. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they just don't put them underneath of the power lines that are existing. You have 300-foot wide right-of-ways that can tap right
true.
into the overhead lines. Why do you not have all of them underneath those towers lined
Not
with
sure how
solar?
they get the bucket trucks in there to work on them after they got that solar in there. That may be
Yeah.
another problem.
And the agrivoltaic, that is just.
No, I laugh every time somebody
Yeah,
talks
the
about
agrivoltaic
that.
is not
I can
even
see
a
one of our
concept, that's
combines
a
going through one of
reality.
those fields. It'd be solar panels be going every which way.
How are you gonna have a 65-foot head
That's what
on
I'm
a
saying.
combine going through,
bunch
and
of
then a
solar
combine
panels.
is like 20 feet high? No, that's not feasible.
Anyway.
All right, we'll
Yes.
call the vote on
Yes,
this.
call the
Okay.
vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Phil?
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Absolutely. We'll get those numbers for you, Jack.
Yeah, please do.
All right, Commissioners, to wrap things up, we have 3 budget amendments. First is Budget Amendment CC 11 for the Board of Education, and this transfers budget authority of $111,238 from the Kent Island High School Energy Management System, which is completed, to 2 other projects, including the camera VMS to Gentech and the Kent Island High School makeup air units. No additional new county funds are required.
Motion to approve CC 11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Item 8, Budget Amendment CC 12. This is for the Housing Authority facilities, and this budget amendment transfers authority from Public Works in the amount of $711,539 to the Housing Authority facilities, including Fisher Manor, Riverside Estates, Graysonville Terrace, and Terrapin Grove. This project was initially managed by DPW, but now we have Mike Clark running the Housing Authority. We're going to shift those dollars over to his purview.
Motion to approve CC 12.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
711,000?
711,539. Yeah. The last budget amendment CC 13, transfer of ARPA funds, and this budget amendment moves budgeted ARPA dollars from specific projects to other expenditures consistent with the federal ARPA use guidelines. No new county funds are required for this amendment as well.
Motion to approve CC 13. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, Commissioners, that's all of the action items for this evening. We can do press and public comment.
Small comment? Beth? Yeah. Bruce? Good. Round table.
Round table.
What time tomorrow night? 6:30. So we have our rant closure town hall tomorrow night. It's starts at 6:30, but the doors open at 6, I believe.
6:30 doors open, presentation at 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. The doors open at 6:30. It's Bayside Elementary School. Doors open at 6:30, and the presentation will begin at 7. We've got poster boards up and some information on. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how many people show up, because the last time it was full, the place was packed. We had to bring chairs from all over the place, but I don't see a lot of talk and chatter going on social media about it. So we'll see how many people show up. So,
And Administrator Will Pines will be attending tomorrow night as well.
Yep. Awesome.
He was at the last one. And he
Is it?
didn't speak.
That's enough for me.
Bill?
He didn't say anything.
Just real quick, I'm going to steal your thunder, Chris, but Commission President Chris Corcoran and myself attended the legislative wrap-up breakfast that was sponsored by the Chamber. Linda and Tracy always do a great job with that event. But Bruce shared a lot of the information with his presentation to us this evening, so I won't belabor that. But there was some good news, but mostly bad. Other than that, I appreciate everybody letting me chime in tonight.
Feel better, Phil.
Patrick?
I'm good.
Okay.
I just, right before the meeting, I got the opportunity to go cut the ribbon for the Churchill storytelling trail, which is our third one in the county. To go along with Route 18 and Sellersville Park. So it was, encourage everybody to get up there. I learned that they transfer the books every 3 months between the parks, and then they switch them all 3 out. So basically, you get 12 different stories at each park throughout the year. That's cool. Yeah, pretty good. Yep. Kids should enjoy it.
All right.
All I got.
I got nothing. I'll entertain a motion.
One more thing, I'm sorry. Next Monday, the 28th, Central Veterans Organization at Kennard, the Kennard Building, are going to dedicate a plaque to the African-American soldiers that fought in the Civil War. So it's 11, I believe it's 11 a.m. That's going to go on, so anybody would like to come out for the ceremonies, please do.
When is that?
Monday, the 28th, at 11 a.m. at Kennard. There's plaques already set there, and
You
it's
have a
been
large
dedicated.
contingent from Jefferson Davis, because I spoke to them yesterday
Right,
morning,
there
took
you
a
go.
Q&A with them, and there
Yeah.
must have been 40 of them in there, and it sounds like all 40 are going to be there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to have a
this
pretty good
is,
set.
this is a project that they took on and did, so, with the help of County Administrator Todd Mon.
He said it was Jim Moran.
Well, it's all
He said
good.
it was Jim Moran.
It's all good.
That's all I heard.
You guys have a
We're all, we're like twins, right? Twins.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?